Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Newscast, where I go over the top news of the last week in retro handhelds, retro gaming, and just gaming in general. Not a lot of news in the retro space this week, but there is some good news for Apple fans, as well as some game news. So let's just jump right in. First up in emulator news, and I'm a bit late on this one, but Lemonade 3DS, the 3DS emulator, is shutting down. Now, there's a whole bunch of drama that went behind this, but the general idea is they were using code from a previous Citra developer without attribution, without labeling it as his code. He got mad, they slung some words at him and basically mocked him, and then this whole thing just blew up afterwards. Not sure if it was connected to this incident, but this was the last thing that happened before it all shut down. Now all of the devs are gone and there's no one left to continue it, so just add it to the list. Who is actually left developing 3DS emulation now? Because even I can't keep up, so I don't know what projects are even left at this point. Let's move on to better news. It's been a very wild week for Apple users who want to emulate on Apple devices. First, there was an emulator that got thrown onto the Play Store that was essentially a scam, but everybody got excited because it showed that, hey, Apple is letting this happen. The real developer got mad about it, and Apple ended up taking it down because it wasn't an actual real emulator made by the actual developer. So we were back to square one. Then a few other emulators got thrown up onto the store and they got taken down as well. So a lot of people were left scratching their heads and confused as to what was happening here. It was like the 3DS and Switch emulation scene all over again, but now on Apple. But finally, we got the Delta emulator, which seems to be a real one from what I'm told, and it looks like everybody's making videos on it now, so I'm gonna guess this is the real one. Again, I have no Apple devices, I have no iPhones, I am not in that world, so I'm going based off of third-party information here. So the general good news here is that we actually have confirmation that 1, Apple is allowing emulators, and 2, you can load your own files and all of that. So we are completely in the know of what's happening, and that means that we should start to see a lot more of the popular emulators come out at some point in the near future. For me, this will probably be the last time I report on any new emulators unless it's one of the big ones that come out, just because I don't have any Apple devices and it just doesn't make sense for me. But the moment that a RetroArch, a PPSSPP, or any bigger ones start to pop up, I'll let you know. To everybody else, welcome to the emulation community. First up in device news, we have a new device that just came out, and it's the Powkiddy RGB20SX, which if you've been following this newscast and my channel, I've reported on a few times. This is $90 shipped through powkiddy.com, the website, and I have a link in the description. Or you can get it for $70 if the coupon is still available, and there's a $20 coupon if you read the description of the item on the website. Now, I'm not sure if it earns the $90 price point right now. It is an RGB20S with the RGB30s screen and RGB30s processor. So it is in that same range as the RGB30, and I'm guessing after a few months we'll start to see it in the same price ranges as the RGB30, which is around like $58 on AliExpress and all of that. But currently at $90, it's probably going to be a niche purchase for a lot of people. Sadly, they missed the color of the rendering that we saw, which was the white and blue, and was probably the main reason I was excited for this device because that white and blue looked awesome. Instead, we got a transparent white, a transparent blue, a black, and a yellow. But it looks like they're still including these stickers that they are known for on the RGB20S, which is still fun. Personally, I have a review unit on the way from Go Game Geek, and that's going to take a little bit longer than most people that ordered it. I planned on ordering it if it had the white and blue, but it didn't. And then I looked at the price and I'm like, I don't really want to buy this. It doesn't really look for me. But maybe when I get the review unit, it'll change my mind because I am interested in it, especially if it has ArcOS. If it doesn't have ArcOS, you likely won't see a video from me. Magic X, the makers of the XU10, are coming out with the new handheld called the XU Mini M. No actual information on this yet. They just sent out the picture and they said more information is coming on Sunday, and we should know more at that point if this is just a same internals as the XU10 and just in this form factor, or if it's completely different. But for those that are listening on the audio podcast, it is a horizontal handheld. It just looks a little bit more comfortable, like a smaller M17 is the way that I would describe it. Personally, no interest on my part. I wasn't a fan of the XU10, and I'm probably not going to be reviewing this or getting this in. But for those that do like the XU10, and I know there's a community of you, maybe you'll like this one too. Remember the Aya Neo Pocket S? Well, we finally are going to get a launch event, and I'm saying finally in the hopes that this is the time where they will actually release pricing information and the launch date and all of that. But it's supposed to be on April 26th at 8 a.m. Eastern. Now I'll be asleep at that point because I'm in mountain time, but I'm hoping that when I wake up, I will have a launch date and I will have pricing information. Because if it doesn't have those, I'm not sure how much longer you can keep this up. Personally, my money is still on $4.99 US dollars. Maybe we'll see a $4.49 US dollar early bird thing for the first few units or something like that, but I am fully expecting a $500 minimum price point on this device. Speaking of the Aya Neo Pocket S, the Orange Pi Neo, the bigger brother of the Aya Neo Pocket S, got some real-world pictures put out. Now that's just a joke. There is no connection between the Pocket S and the Orange Pi Neo. But if you look at the design of both of them with the all front glass screen and all of that, they look a little bit similar. But anyways, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy here that the very first real-world picture of the Orange Pi Neo that we get has tons of glare and reflection on it. Because that's the one thing that I think everybody's commented on, is that all-glass screen is going to be a nightmare for fingerprints as well as reflections. And the first pictures we got kind of confirm it. So for those of you that want to play games using a mirror, not much longer. Again, that's a joke. I hope this does well, and we'll find out. There's another Retroid Pocket 4 Pro update here, and I'm actually curious, are any of these updates going to the base, or is this all for the Pro? I never looked into it, and I'm curious. Let me know in the comments if you have a base and you're getting these updates, or if they're just not updating that at all. But general idea here is a bunch of bug fixes. So let's go over the main ones. Seems some people's SD cards weren't being recognized after sleep, and this fixes that. There's also a fix for the fan not stopping after the screen turns off, which is pretty funny. And the last major one here is that it fixes the image not being correctly displayed when you were using HDMI output. There's a few more fixes, but in general, it's kind of a bug-fixing update, nothing new feature-wise. Do you remember the Asus ROG Ally? Some might say it was one of the best handhelds of 2023. Well, it's back in the news now, and probably for a better reason than usual. Asus has finally acknowledged the SD card reader issues and is offering a 2-year warranty, so they're extending it instead of 1 year to 2 years if you have that specific problem on your Ally and you're in the US. They'll also even reimburse you for the SD card if it's damaged and unusable, so they go a step further here. Now, it's very important to note here that this is US only. I think in the EU, you guys have your own levels of security for this, but Canadians, we are left in the dark, and every other country, every other part of the world that isn't the US or EU, I guess we don't get this same level of support. Personally, I just sold my launch Asus ROG Ally this week, and it had a working SD card reader. It was still perfect. I'm actually excited and waiting for the ROG Ally 2, and so I sold it in hopes of that coming pretty soon. I'm using my Steam Deck OLED mostly nowadays anyways, but I need to get back to Windows. So, Ally 2, hoping it comes soon. If my videos have been helping you, consider supporting me on Patreon, or just give this video a like and a sub. Either or both help my channel grow. Jumping into game news now, and there was this game called The Crew, and it was made by Ubisoft. And on March 31st, the Crew's online servers shut down. But it went further than that because Ubisoft, I don't know what the real way to say it is. I say Ubisoft. Anyways, Ubisoft decided to claw back all of the owned copies from people's digital libraries. So if you bought The Crew, they clawed back all of the licenses, and now, instead of not being able to just play it online and maybe waiting for somebody to create a faux online server for it, you can't play it at all. Can't download it, can't install it. You basically don't own it anymore. There's a lot that we can say here. Number one, gross from Ubisoft for doing this. Number two, just furthering the point that we do not own digital copies of games, no matter where they're from, because as much as Steam hasn't done it in recent memory, they have done this in the past. Now, rare cases, especially even with the Ubisoft case here, this is a rare case, but it just kind of furthers the point that for games preservation, or even for just owning games that you buy, you don't actually own them. And so it's a little bit of a reminder of it. That's kind of all I want to say on this topic. There's been a lot of different videos that go in a lot more depth about this and all of that sort of thing, but just want to draw your attention to it in case this is something you are caring about and worry about. Maybe avoid Ubisoft going forward. Hot on the heels of the super successful Fallout show, which if you haven't watched, you should definitely watch because it's actually really good and I enjoyed it. But Fallout 4 is getting some new updates on both PC and console. Now for consoles, there's going to be some stability improvements and fixes, but there's going to be a 60 FPS mode and better resolutions and a lot more. Now on PC, they're going to be adding widescreen and ultra widescreen support, which is cool. Personally, I can't say that Fallout 4 was my favorite of the series, but it's still a good game, and I'm pretty happy to see that a game that's old at this point, or older, is still getting some updates and support. For those that don't know, Hades 2 is coming pretty soon to early access on Steam. But before that, the team needs help with doing some technical tests. So you can sign up to play early access, I guess, and provide feedback on things that are going wrong or going right with the game. And if you're interested in that, I'm going to leave a link in the description to where you can do it. But basically, you get to play Hades 2 a little bit early if you're picked, and just provide feedback on the game and if things are going right or wrong. So that's pretty cool, and I definitely signed up. I'd love to play some Hades 2 before it gets released. The Switch had an Indie World showcase this week, and there were some highlights. I'm not going to talk about all the games. We'll talk about the two major ones that I saw. The first, SteamWorld Heist 2, is going to be coming to Switch on August 8th. The SteamWorld games are really good, so if you haven't played them, you should give this a shot. Then we have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate, and that's coming in July. Now this one is important because it was on the Apple Arcade, and it was exclusive to the Apple Arcade. Now, no longer exclusive. It's coming to Switch, so keep an eye out for that. Sorry, Hollow Knight fans, but you need to wait a little bit longer, it seems. IGN made a boo-boo this week, and they released a trailer early for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, although by the time that this newscast releases, I imagine the full video will be out by the actual developer, but IGN made a mistake and just put it up a day early. General idea, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is coming in 2024, at some point. The first game has a pretty decent cult following around it, and a lot of people seem to like it. I think I tried it. I didn't play very long, but it wasn't my type of game. I might have to go back and try it again, but for those that like it or want a sequel, it's coming this year. Last on our gaming news, and this is just awesome news all around, but Ghost of Tsushima on PC is going to have cross-play as well as trophy support, PSN friend support, and a bunch more. Basically, it's going to include a PlayStation overlay, and this might be signs of some sort of PlayStation Store coming to PC at some point, but in general ideas, you can pull up this overlay while you're playing the game. You can see trophies that you're going to earn while playing the game, and that's PSN trophies. It shares the same set as the PS5 game, and you can also earn Steam trophies at the same time, but on top of that, you can see your PSN friend list and a whole bunch more, settings, profiles, all of that. So it's kind of like a mini PS5 overlay in the game. Also, I guess it's Steam achievements, not Steam trophies, but you know what I mean. I think the expectation here is this is a very early sign of some sort of PlayStation Store coming, and I'm hoping that this makes its way to the other PlayStation games that are already available. But time will tell what they do. Still awesome to see that they're embracing PC and adding this, because this is just awesome. By the way, did I miss a topic that you want to hear discussed? Top comment with the words Newscast topic will be featured on next week's show. That's all for me, London.